It has been very difficult for me to come forward with this.
Lisa Cater told us as a result of a domestic violence incident in 2011, she was hospitalized for injuries to both her body and psyche. But more than 4 years later, still battling lingering physical and psychological injuries, she says that made it difficult for her to keep a job and thus maintain a decent place to live. Desperate, she says she reached out to Sam Hoyt, whom she'd once met during a political fundraiser perhaps a decade ago, but who struck her as a nice guy dedicated to helping people. In an email dated November 7, 2015, she contacted Hoyt at Empire State Development, where he served as its regional president, explaining her situation. Hoyt responded in short order on his state email account, pledging to reach out to friends who owned apartments. He even offered to have her driven around to look at them. Within days, he found her a place to live, then promised to help her find a job. According to Cater, Hoyt told her that as the governor's point man in Western New York, he was in charge of getting jobs for friends and promised to get her one. Grateful, she refers to him as a genie, to which he replies that if getting a job was her second wish, I'm curious to what your third will be, while noting he had scoped her out on Facebook and complimented her on her appearance. A little more than a month later, despite barely knowing her, Hoyt leans on a staffer at the governor's office of appointments regarding an opening at the DMV, telling her the one candidate we sent is extremely well qualified and should be hired, advising to put on your angry voice and tell them we will fill this position, not the holdovers who run the place. In text messages, Hoyt assures the DMV job is real. You're the only candidate. And come February, Cater got a congratulatory message welcoming her to her new position. But Cater's attorney alleges Hoyt wanted more than a thank you in exchange and began stalking and pestering Cater for sex.
Mr. Hoyt, the sexual harasser, constantly held that job over her head.
By this time, text messages between the two are demonstrative that the relationship between Hoyt and Cater had moved beyond strictly professional. Many exchanges sent late at night filled with innuendo. And though her lawsuit claims that Hoyt went as far as to text a nude picture of himself, the only ones she shared with us, though flirtatious, are not salacious. In our many conversations with the complainant, she insisted she never had a physical relationship with Sam Hoyt. Although in a statement, Hoyt called it short-term, consensual, and inappropriate. Whatever it was, it all came to a head on August 26, 2016, when the two met on one of these benches at LaSalle Park. Hoyt had suggested in a text message that they meet there to discuss some things, even offered to bring lunch. It was here, she says, that Hoyt got carried away and then grabbed her. The lawsuit claims he seized her by her privates and said, "I know this is what you want." Amid her threats to tell his wife and his boss, the governor, Hoyt proposed that he compensate her financially not to do that, writing in an email, "I'm a flawed man who couldn't control his emotions when it came to you. I wanted you and tried anything to have you. I offered the money, so yes, you don't say what I've done, and also not to humiliate my boys or myself from public judgment. If you care and respect the good things I've done, take the money and start a new life." Last October, Cater signed a settlement proposed by Hoyt's attorney Terry Connors, and although he strongly encouraged her to have a lawyer review it, she says she did not. She would get $50,000, Hoyt would admit no wrongdoing, and she would keep everything confidential, which she also did not because emails indicate by that time she'd already contacted the governor's office with a complaint against Hoyt, who just over a year later would resign.
And in response, she either received nothing or she received a generic email.
I have faith that this system of justice will prevail and not another woman has to go through what I went through.